So someone that I tried really hard not to talk about was a streamer by the name of Johnny Somali, and I think most of you can probably understand as to why I didn't want to talk about Johnny Somali, and you've probably heard about him, and you've probably heard so much about him and what has been happening with him for a past year. I think it's been like almost a year since he really started getting into like the forefront of people's interests, but not for the right reasons when I say that. It's because of all the shit that he's been doing for clout and attention on his live streams. And for those of you who don't know, Johnny Somali is basically just a guy who goes and does nuisance streams. What are nuisance streams? It's basically just a streamer who goes around in public somewhere. Doesn't really matter where it is. It can be anywhere in the world, but Johnny Somali specifically decided to go to Asian countries such as Japan and South Korea to go and just basically harass people in any form or fashion that he possibly can. If he can make people uncomfortable, he's gonna go ahead and just do that. So that was what got him a ton of attention to begin with, because he was in Japan, basically just being a gigantic nuisance to anyone around him and to anyone that he would meet, and people hated him. I hated him. That was the reason why I didn't want to ever talk about him. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of there being another person on the internet willing to make a video talking about him. So I just never did. But I always kept an eye on some of the shit that he was doing, seeing all the stuff that he was doing to be disrespectful to the Japanese culture and the people there and people living their lives. That's basically all people in Japan try to do, is that they just try to go about their day to day doing whatever it is that they're gonna do. Most of the time it's people actively trying to go to fucking work and to do what they're supposed to do at their job. But then you have Johnny Somali, who's just there on the trains, in the subway, trying to, on the Shinkansen, just causing a ruckus and being an absolute fucking nuisance for no reason. It's just for the attention and for the validation that he can get from his audience, I guess is what I'm gonna call it. I guess he sort of has an audience that, for whatever reason, just continue to keep watching him. And yeah, that's basically just what he had been known for the past year or so. He eventually got arrested in Japan, got kicked out of Japan, and got a slap on the wrist, honestly. I think he actually went over to Israel for a short amount of time, but then I think he realized, oh, I could potentially get killed if I stay here for too long, so I'm just not gonna stick around for very much longer. So he dipped the hell out of there and then went to South Korea, and then pretty much just pulled the same shit that he was doing over there in South Korea. And then, what do you know? A lot of South Korean people really didn't like the behavior that he was doing, like such as kissing the Statue of Peace, which, for those of you who don't know what the Statue of Peace is, it's a statue and a memorial that's supposed to serve as a memorial for the young women who were sexually abused during wartime in World War II. I think it was like over 200,000 women who experienced sex crimes during World War II. So a lot of people justifiably got very upset by that, but also it was just his, overall behavior and his attitude and causing more public nuisances, being a public nuisance to like this local 7-Eleven, just him being just an absolute disrespectful piece of shit. So he eventually got assaulted by a lot of people. A lot of people really didn't like what he was doing, so he got beat up a lot. There are a bunch of clips that have him just getting his ass beat constantly. Instead of being a world warrior like in Street Fighter 2, instead of being one of the world warriors and getting hit by Gaio's Sonic Boom, he got his ass beat by multiple Japanese people and South Korean people when he was in those respective countries. So yeah, that's pretty much what ended up happening. But of course, naturally, because he was being such a public nuisance, he got arrested, and now he recently went on trial to see what the charges were going to be like. And what had happened, I'm actually reading over an article, so if you want to go read the article for yourself, obviously go do that. I'll link it down in the description. But the article says, controversial streamer Johnny Somali finally made his long-awaited court appearance after terrorizing South Korea and pled guilty to the charges he knew about. On March 7th, 2025, Johnny Somali, real name Ramsey Khalid Ismail, showed up to court an hour late wearing an oversized suit and a MAGA hat, which he was asked to remove multiple times. According to YouTube lawyer Legal Mindset, Somali, who had been staying with his streamer friend Hank Yu, pled guilty to obstruction of business and 2 counts of violating the Minor Crimes Act. So he pled guilty to the obstruction of business, which had to do with a live stream clip of him going to the local 7-Eleven and just causing a ruckus and doing whatever he was doing there. I don't know. Just I don't ever want to watch clips of him for very obvious reasons, because why would I ever want to watch anything revolving around that piece of shit? So yeah, he applied to that, which turns out it is a maximum or maybe a minimum. I don't remember which one it was, but he's gonna get possibly 5 years of jail time in a South Korean prison because he pled guilty to the obstruction of business. But it turned out that he had no idea of this, by the way, neither did his lawyer. Somali reportedly had no idea about the additional obstruction of business charge filed against him and moved to push his court date to April 9th. So potentially after the court date on April 9th, he will potentially be pleading guilty again to another obstruction of business charge against him, and he will then get 10 years in a Korean prison. So 1 year is already 10 years in the internet timeline anyways. So imagine him being gone for a bare minimum of like 5 years. Right, if he gets charged for, 2 counts of obstruction of business and he gets the maximum punishment of 10 years in prison. That's absolutely insane. Reading more of the article though, because it did mention how he had been staying with another streamer friend and he showed up hungover wearing an oversized suit. No, it just said he showed up late. So yeah, the reason why he had actually showed up late was because he had live streamed on this app called Party, and he was planning on actually streaming at the court and, streaming his court trial, but then he would have been in contempt of court, so obviously he couldn't do that. And the reason why he was an hour late is because he had gotten on his live stream on Party, and he got super hammered, super wasted, and just got so obscenely drunk to the point where he was vomiting that he ended up showing an hour late wearing a suit that was like 2 sizes way too big for him. Like, that picture that goes around sometimes with Kevin Hart wearing Shaq's like suit jacket? It's basically like that. Like, that's basically the equivalent of Legal Mindset and Atozi we're comparing it to. Atozi was also there. He's been covering it a lot as well. I've mentioned him a few times in other videos. But yeah, reading more of the article, it says, for months, Somali wreaked havoc across South Korea with nuisance streams that royally upset both the country's politicians and citizens, including a former member of Korean Special Forces who KO'd the streamer in a must-see video. We're talking about back again what I was talking about him getting his ass beat in multiple live stream clips. So yeah, it even went as far as reaching the country's parliament, and politicians were talking about this and trying to get this guy thrown into a jail cell for all the shit that he's been doing in South Korea. Reading a little bit further ahead in the article, towards the end, it says, thus far he's been accused of violating anti-terrorism laws, threatening to sexually assault female streamers, drug use, creating AI deepfakes of other creators, violating the Railroad Act, and even spreading North Korean propaganda. Prior to his South Korean trip, Ismail had been kicked out of Japan for similar antics and later admitted to lying in Japanese court about not making money with his broadcasts. So Johnny Somali is just the biggest piece of shit in the fucking world. No one likes this guy. No one wants to see this guy win his court cases. He's already pled guilty to 1 charge, so he's probably going to end up pleading guilty again. And from apparently what Atozi was also talking about as well, when he went in to go for his trial, he had this huge big smile on his face and he was so happy. He like thought that he was going to get away with it. And then what ended up happening, once they told him what the maximum sentence was going to end up being for him, his smile went away immediately. So yeah, just this absolute degenerate piece of shit, just one of the worst people imaginable on the entire internet and in the world that just everybody collectively hates as a group. It doesn't matter like what political party you're a part of, it doesn't matter like what race or ethnicity you are, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. We can all collectively say, fuck Johnny Somali. We all hope that he gets the maximum prison sentence. And some people are saying that the 5 years isn't enough, 10 years isn't enough. The fact that he's getting any sort of jail time at all is better than nothing. He could have honestly potentially gotten away with everything that he did scot-free and then just went back to America in his home country and never go anywhere ever again. But South Korea is no fucking joke, and they want to give him the maximum sentence as much as possible. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I really have to say about the situation. Fuck Johnny Somali. He's a huge piece of shit, and he's getting what he sowed. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, be sure to like. If you want to see more, please be sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. I want to give a channel shout out to Patriots360 and Redigan Enigma for being members. I'd really appreciate it if you guys consider joining the memberships. It'd be amazing if you did. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys next one. I'm out. Peace.